Paris, 1921. Amidst the horse-drawn carriages and the first clunky Fords, something indescribable weaves through the streets. It has no hood, no radiator. In their place, a gigantic wooden propeller, spinning at 1,200 revolutions per minute. This is not a plane that's made an emergency landing. This is a car, and its creator genuinely believed it was the future. This is the story of the Leyat Helica, a story of how an aviation dream collided with reality at full speed. To understand how anyone had the idea to bolt a meat grinder to a cart, you have to understand the world that birthed it. The dawn of the 20th century. The automobile isn't a luxury or a convenience. It's a problem. The roads were dreadful. This wasn't asphalt, these were suggestions. Cobblestones in the city and pure mud beyond. Just to get moving, an engine had to overcome immense resistance. But the real problem was hidden inside. This was the enemy, the transmission. All those gears, shafts, and axles were heavy, loud, unreliable, and worst of all, they ate power. Engineers at the time calculated that, in an average car, 30% to 40% of the engine's power was simply lost to friction in the drivetrain. Imagine a third of your horses just not making it to the wheels. It was an engineering disaster. And then, World War I happened. It brought horror, but it also gave a massive boost to aviation. People saw what true efficiency looked like. A plane had no heavy axles or gearboxes. The engine spun a propeller. All the power went straight into the air. Direct drive. 100% efficiency at the prop. A generation of young engineers, returning from the war, looked at cars with contempt. They saw them as carts pulling themselves, and one of them decided to fix it. Marcel Leyat. Remember that name. He wasn't some garage crackpot. He was a certified aeronautical engineer. He designed and built aircraft, and he hated cars. He called them brutal, heavy machines devoid of logic. His logic was aviation logic, maximum efficiency through minimum weight and direct action. In 1913, he built his first prototype, and in 1919, right after the war, he presented his vision of the future to the world, the Helica. Leyat's idea was radical. Throw everything out. No gearbox, no clutch, no driveshaft, no differential. Lighten everything. The body shouldn't be steel. It should be like a fuselage. Propulsion, an air screw. It moves the car and cools the engine. Leyat founded his own company and was serious about mass production. He wasn't a dreamer, he was a businessman, albeit a slightly mad one. Let's take a look at what he built, because every detail here is either an engineering breakthrough or an example of complete disregard for human life. Look at it. It looks like a torpedo or a zeppelin without its skin. The reason? Aerodynamics. But the real secret isn't the shape, it's the weight. The Helica had no frame at all. The body was a load-bearing monocoque made of plywood, just like the aircraft fuselages of the day. This achieved the incredible. The entire car weighed just 250 kilograms. That's about 550 pounds. It's lighter than a modern Honda Goldwing touring motorcycle. Passengers sat one behind the other in tandem. Again, just like in a fighter plane, this minimized frontal drag. The heart of the machine was a tiny 2-cylinder motorcycle engine, usually an 8 horsepower, Anzani, or ABC, 8 horsepower. It's laughable. But those 8 horses weren't lost in a transmission. Every last one of them went into spinning a 2-meter, 6.5-foot wooden propeller. And this is where the problems begin. On the early models from 1919 to 1921, the propeller had zero protection. No grill, no cage, just 6.5 feet of wood, spinning at pedestrian head level. Any careless person, a dog, a street vendor, you get the picture. Only in later models did Leyat add a light mesh guard that, frankly, would only save you from a stray hat. If you think the propeller is the scariest part, you're wrong. The scariest part was hidden in the steering. The Helica had rear-wheel steering, like a forklift. Why? Leyat thought it was simpler from an engineering standpoint. No need to run steering linkages past the engine and prop. In a parking lot, it was genius. The car could turn on a dime, but at speeds over 40 kilometers per hour, about 25 miles per hour, rear-wheel steering becomes a nightmare. The slightest turn of the wheel, and the car tries to instantly spin 180 degrees. Its terminal oversteer, taken to its absurd conclusion. Okay, we're accelerating. How do we brake? The Helica had brakes. On the rear wheels. Tiny, inefficient drums that could barely handle 550 pounds of weight. But there was a second way to brake, aerodynamic. The main brake was the propeller itself. You just had to kill the engine. The propeller would stop pulling and start acting as a giant air brake. Of course, after that, to get moving again, you had to get out and hand crank the engine back to life, standing a few feet away from the propeller. Fine. So what was it like to drive? It was an experience. First, you had no neutral gear. Engine on meant the prop was spinning. To wait at a traffic light, the driver had to either kill the engine or hold the car on the brakes while it roared and tried to leap forward. Second, the noise. It howled like a World War I fighter. Third, the dust. The propeller created a powerful slipstream that kicked up dust, leaves, rocks, and horse manure from the road, hurling it all backwards. Driving behind a Helica was impossible. But despite all this, it was fast. Forget the 8 horsepower. Thanks to its 550-pound weight and aerodynamics, a standard Helica easily hit 80 to 90 kilometers per hour, around 55 miles per hour. This was faster than most production cars of the era. But that wasn't enough for Leyat. In 1927, he entered a special sports model at the Montelheri track, and it reached 171 kilometers per hour. That's 106 miles per hour. I repeat, 106 miles per hour. In a plywood tub, with a motorcycle engine and rear-wheel steering. That's not driving. That's an active form of suicide. Leyat genuinely tried to sell this. He printed brochures promising fuel economy, no transmission, and low tire wear, no wheel spin. He even offered sedan models with enclosed bodies. But the world was not ready. The reasons for its failure were obvious. Danger, the exposed propeller was terrifying. Noise and dust, it was impossible to drive in a city. The police, very quickly, authorities in Paris and other cities simply banned the propeller cars from public roads. They were a public menace. Practicality, in city traffic, at low speed, the propeller was terribly inefficient. It just churned the air, wasting fuel. Its entire advantage was only at a high, constant speed. Marcel Leyat continued to build his Helicas until 1927. He designed over 10 different models. But how many did he sell? In the company's entire existence, only 30 cars were ever sold. This makes the Helica one of the rarest production, if you can call it that, cars in history. Only a handful survive today. They sit in museums as monuments to a strange era when aviation and the automobile tried to become one. Was Marcel Leyat insane? No. He was a pure rationalist who simply started from the wrong axioms. He was an aviator who tried to make the ground obey the laws of the sky. He wanted to solve a real problem, drivetrain power loss. And he did solve it. But the price of that solution was just too high. The Leyat Helica is not a dead end of evolution. It is a beautiful, terrifying, and incredibly fast proof that the most efficient path isn't always the right one, especially if a pedestrian is standing in the way.